Hey, welcome everybody. Uh, this is the All The Leads Mastermind call. Glad to have you here. Uh, the only one missing on our team today is Mr. Sullivan. Jim is at Disney World today with his granddaughter. They're all tearing up the parks today, and looks like they are going to get some good weather. It looked like for a while it was going to get rained on, but looks like it's cleared up, and they're going to have a good day. So we're excited about that. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. This is Mastermind call number 527. Um, Pretty crazy. Today is May 8th, call number 527. So, just real quick, kind of set the stage for how this works. Most of you I see are people who've been on before, so won't have to spend a lot of time on this, but this is your call. You drive the bus. We're not here to pitch and sell stuff. We're here to talk with you and help with you. This is part of our training initiative and the things that we do to try to help you be more successful. So we're looking to hear from you. We're looking to hear about your successes. We're looking to hear about your challenges or anything else that you want to talk about, not limited just to uh, probate or pre-probate or divorce or late mortgage, but the real estate business in general. Anything you want to talk about, it's your time. In order to do that, simply click on the heart at the bottom of your screen, which is the react, and you'll see that you'll see a raise hand, and up it comes. See, we've got one already. We'll take that in just a second. Either that one or some Zoom apps actually have a raise hand button. So either one of those will work, but typically that's the way you get there. And we'll take your calls and we'll talk with you and see what you got going on. Mr. Eric, unmute yourself there, buddy, and let's hear what you got to say.
Yeah, hi. Was on an appointment yesterday, and the executor was scared of getting sued by a beneficiary, and I wanted to go over all the ways that a executor can get sued and all the ways that we can help our clients not get sued.
Well, that's a great way to start off today. That's a good one. I like that. That's something that we haven't spoken of, at least this year, I'm sure, that I'm aware of that we have. Um, and we want to start with Bruce. You want to take a whack at that?
Yeah, I've never really thought about how all the ways that an executor can get sued. I don't think it's that many. I would generally just say, don't be engaged in gross negligence. I mean, what are you going to get sued for? Are you going to get sued for your seat as an executor? That is a suit that's not necessarily monetary compensation, but somebody could always sue to challenge you over your assignment as executor. Um, I don't think that that's something to worry about if you're getting along with the other beneficiaries. Outside of that, it's just mishandling financially the estate. And if they're worried that there's going to be litigious family members or beneficiaries, then don't throw the property out there for less than market value.
Right. The other thing that occurs to me that certainly would avoid a lot of that is very, very high degree of transparency. So that when you're working with them, one of the things that I frequently hear and that we recommend, if you're in that situation, is that you report frequently to all of the stakeholders. Whoever's got anything to gain or lose in this, let them know what's going on. They should be aware of what's up against the estate in terms of liens, people who are looking to get paid. And I mean, think about the job. The job is strictly to conclude the business, to get any property dealt with, and distribute the assets. I mean, it sounds relatively simple, but the issue is it's all around money. That's the only thing they're typically going to get sued for is if they mishandle funds or any of the rest of that. And the way you avoid a lot of that is just tell them to be very transparent. If they
And
do something, document it.
if you report through to the courts what you've done, you should add an extra layer of credibility and safety there as well. Um, but for me, and Steve's got his hand up, and I know there may be some other comments. For me, it's the money. So are you properly protecting the wealth in the estate by getting the actual value for items that you have to sell? And then the other is, did you put your head in the sand and cause probate to take 2 years when it could have been done in 9 months because you procrastinated? So procrastination and wealth would be the only two things that I would have any concern over if I was an executor.
And it's also possible if you have a contest to the will where, it looks like the will is not, you got heirs, they're going to fight over that. They're going to look with extremely close scrutiny, anything that you do. So you got to be really aware of what's going on with all the people who have something to gain in all of this. The other thing I've also heard of, in some states, it's even required that if the estate is over a certain amount of money, a fiduciary bond is required. The estate has to pay for it in some cases, but they may want to look into a fiduciary bond to protect the executor or executrix, personal representative, against exactly what you're asking about. So those can help. Steve, what were you going to say, bud?
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, so getting back to what you just said, Tim, fiduciary responsibility, I know Bruce covers that, probate mastery. So that's something that is not to be taken lightly, that you have. I would also be very clear with anyone who's seeking to sue the estate or the executor or whatever the language states in the will, that as you're talking with others, that you're making it very clear, look, this is a legal question. I'm not an attorney, right? All I can provide you is with administrative information. But for legal matters, you really need to go to the attorney to find out what rights you have and you don't. And that may not be what they want to hear, but clearly you don't want to be perceived as dispensing legal advice because you don't have the ability to do so. You don't have a license to give them legal advice, and it's a form of malpractice. So don't put yourself in that position. Make sure it's very distinct. I can give you administrative information for your consideration. And I would stress that they get with the attorney that's handling the estate so they can weigh in, right? And you can find out where it is. And I would make sure the attorney realizes, hey, I'm not dispensing legal information here. I'm just giving him information from an administrative standpoint based on what I've seen in the past.
Right. And this is not just to Eric, but I would also say that it would be a really, really, and it's a great question to start in. I appreciate the question because I think it's good that we all talk about this. It would be a topic of something to talk with an attorney in your market as you build your business. Talk to them about the potential pitfalls. If you're working with an attorney who handles a lot of probate, they've probably seen all the good, bad, and the ugly about things that can go down in that market. Ask them the same question that you asked us. Therefore, you're getting it, not just our opinion, but there may be local market issues that you need to be aware of. And, someone may say, well, the courts in XYZ county are pretty strict about so-and-so. And so make sure that part of your training that you make sure you're training yourself is to meet with those attorneys. Find an attorney that you can work with, that you can trust, who's going to give you straight answers, and ask them that same question, Eric. That way you've got the ability to dispense knowledge that based on information that you received from an attorney, not that you're giving out legal advice, but it's a great thing to talk with your potential customers about when you're interviewing to try to, get the business. Say, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? And those are the things that we always talk about. There's no manual that they hand to a new personal representative. It's okay. You've got the job. Good luck to you there, Sparky. So they're always afraid. They're always concerned. They don't want to do the wrong thing. They don't want to be angering anybody. And sometimes in their rush to make sure they're not making mistakes, they will slow it down. And, Bruce made a good point there that someone who's being overly careful, you want to get in trouble. If somebody needs the money from the estate and it could have been closed in 2-3 months and it takes 2 years, you got a problem. It's also a problem if you're a participant in it and you're able to take expenses out of it and you're just padding your timesheet, so to speak.
Yeah,
That helps.
the caveat here is that it was a reverse mortgage, and this is something I learned recently. When there's a death on a reverse mortgage, it goes automatically to foreclosure. So now it's in foreclosure. So that would be gross negligence if he didn't sell it and it did go to foreclosure. But I thought that was an interesting caveat.
Is this in California?
Yes.
Yeah. So the reverse mortgages are interesting. They've gone to court now. They're supposed to give you longer than 90 days, but the note that they originally signed says 90 days after the person passes away, the house either needs to be on market or they file you. It depends on the servicer that you're dealing with. But I'm dealing with this very litigious family right now, and what their attorney has specifically instructed me is it's going on the market for 10 days, no preemptive offers, full disclosures. He wants copies of every single offer. He wants the copies of my CMA. He's documenting because he doesn't want to set up for this thing to be a lawsuit at the end. And the market's going to tell the price. So no one can really argue with that.
Very interesting. Yeah, and that's, you asked the right question. Is it California? California sometimes leads the parade in having these interesting things come up and dealing with them. And, oftentimes we look at things that go on out there and say, oh, well, that's California. And the reality is that, it's a more progressive way of looking at it, but it's also, it's a lot of litigious nature and a lot of stuff going on. But that's a good point, Bill. How often do you run in these days? Are you running into more and more reverse mortgages?
Yeah, in California, yeah. And a lot of them are upside down. I have this beautiful, I just met with them, gorgeous Tiburon views of the lagoon, the Gold Gate Bridge, the Bay Bridge, Angel Island, San Francisco. Well, she owes $1.2 million on it. I mean, she owes $1.2 million on it. It's worth 900 to $1 million maybe. So, and that's going on a lot. So in the reverse mortgage, the heirs are just going to sign it over to the bank and just let them deal with it. There's no money for them.
Right.
Yeah, and
yeah,
and I'm not a fan of reverse
that's
mortgage. Bruce might have a different opinion, but what I noticed on the reverse mortgage, the last 5 years just burns up equity because you're paying interest on interest on interest on interest, and it just burns whatever opportunity they might have to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But, sometimes that's the only way people can have cash to live. It is what it is. It is what it is. Hang on one second. Okay. Got a question that came in from Ron. It says, what would you say to both the probate homeowner and the PR and the attorney when the attorney's pushing back against using us for services and the disposition because they already have an agent they use, and yet the PR wants to work with us? Hang on one second. Ron, I'm going to ask you to unmute there, bud. Would you?
Thank you.
Yeah. Say that again.
Yeah, so we've got a situation where we through your leads, through ATL leads, we have a contact. We've went to the house to find out what they needed and took Bruce's approach to all the needs first, and then the real estate, would follow. And they want to use us, but their probate attorney is told me they'd rather we bow out because they already have the real estate handled and they can help them with all the things that they need. And basically asked me to go away, but the homeowner and the PR say, no, we want to use you. They shouldn't have that right at all. How do you respond to that as far as the attorney, or is there even a response? Well, I just looking for suggestions. What do I say next? So
Sounds like
I
they
told
need
her
to
she's
find
got to
a
go
new
back to her
attorney.
attorney. So
I was just saying that it sounds like they need to find a new attorney. Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, ultimately, it's the PR's decision to decide who they're going to work with and who they're not going to work with.
Yeah.
And yes, that's not the most tactful thing to say, is that they need a new attorney. But if their attorney is trying to control this aspect of it, they definitely do want to take a deep dive and look into if this attorney is really going to represent them in with their best interest in mind.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
they're 5 months behind on the house payment. They're $6,000 behind on utilities. They need lots of help and not getting much communication from the attorney other than them trying to control it. So,
yeah.
um,
So I agree. I think that it's ultimately their decision. So if they want
yeah,
to work with you, if they can just move forward, and maybe they will see that it's in their best interest to switch attorneys, because all this time is just wasting time, them getting the house sold and moving on. All this
they've
back
only
and
been
forth
working
and
with him for a
waiting.
month.
Yeah, it's waiting. So that's another month of being behind on
Yeah.
payments. Exactly.
Yeah. Good thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very somewhat inappropriate for the attorney to do that anyway. That's their job is to practice law, not to try to direct funding and direct activity like that. It's fine if they have a referral person they work with, that's great, but there's something else at play there.
Yeah.
And I think you should.
So in California, in short sales, there's lots of attorneys that advertise, we're going to keep you in your home, pay us $1,000 a month. So they just stall it all off. And then at the very end, they're going to recommend to sell the home, and they're going to provide a real estate agent. So this could be a Northern California house, the agent's in San Francisco, and the agent turns out to be some relation with this attorney. So that's the only thing I can think of, because it just sounds very, very unusual.
Yeah, haven't really heard that too often. Bruce, go ahead.
You got Ron. Can you briefly repeat what the attorney said to you?
Well, it was what's his legal assistant? What's their title?
Paralegal.
Paralegal. Thank you. It was paralegal. So I reached out to the attorney after I met with the client through email, introduced myself, sent them links to our site, and here's the things we're like that we do, and we have a mutual relationship with so and so and so and so at this address. And it took a couple of days before they called me, and Amy, the paralegal, called, said, well, we've been working with them, or if we would prefer that we handle all of that. We've got some concerns about advancing them any money. Will it go to the right places? They have there's a second beneficiary, but the PR has full authority. The second beneficiary is somewhat special needs, so he's trying to take care of her as well. And the attorney basically said, we have an agent already that is very good at probate. We have that handled, and we don't want anybody else involved, so we can protect them. Basically, like, nobody can do what we're doing, kind of a position.
All right.
So
I'm gonna take a devil's advocate approach to what everybody else has said. That attorney, if I have a referral relationship with them, they just did exactly what I hoped they would do.
Oh, sure.
So we're looking at that attorney and going, hey, they shouldn't be doing that. That's what I want my referral partners doing.
Sure.
We've got things handled. We'd prefer if you took a step back. I mean, that's
Yeah.
amazing. It stings because they did it to you. So I would just not reach out to them anymore. I'd go straight to the client and be like, hey, here's basically what they said. The choice is yours. Do you want me involved? And then screw the attorney. I mean, they can't say who you list or sell the house to. But we shouldn't just be so quick to all of us go, hey, that attorney is practicing poorly. They shouldn't have influence like that over their client. Yeah, they should. They absolutely should have influence over the client and help them. And it's the same influence that we exert with our clients when they say, "Hey,
Mhm.
who should I go to do an estate sale? Hey, you need to do this." And they say, "Well, what about this other estate sale company?" Well, I really don't know them. That's why I recommend this other guy or this clean out crew or this HVAC company. I think you should really consider my relationship first. Are we doing anything wrong by doing that? No, absolutely not. And the attorney isn't either.
Yeah,
Well,
but
in
Tony,
talking with my wife,
can't we whine a little bit, Bruce? Isn't it okay to whine a little bit?
Yeah, we can whine a little bit, I guess, but now you know where you stand. You don't have an attorney in your corner, so you got to build the relationship directly with the client.
well, do
I,
you take a
I would,
longer term approach to it and say it's an opportunity now to go see this attorney and leave my stuff off, and so I don't get one deal, but I might have started a relationship? Do you take a different approach and bow
Definitely.
out with that in
Yep.
mind versus the
Well, I'm
brain
not going to
damage
bow
from this
out.
battle?
I'm not bowing out of the client relationship. I'm going straight to the client. So yes, take a long-term approach with the attorney. You might end up winning their referral business in the future, but go back to the client and say, "Hey, I thought I was doing a good thing, and basically they told me that they preferred to control everything, but you guys are 5 months behind. I don't think that you should leave it up to what they're going to do without you being involved in that decision. Would you like to work with me?" So don't bow out of
Mhm.
the relationship.
Gotcha.
Bow out of your right now today communication with the attorney,
Yeah.
and then come back to them in a
Okay.
month after you've got a contract on the house.
That's
Okay.
great advice, Bruce.
just, I
Great
want to,
Good idea.
want to add also, Ron, is that based on what you said, you reached out to the attorney right after you had spoken to the PR before you have a listing agreement signed. I would recommend, have everything buttoned up before in the future, obviously not now, but that going forward to circumvent anything like that. I mean, I don't think that you would have seen that coming necessarily, but
Right.
you're having a conversation with the PR, they're ready to work with you unless they asked you to reach out to their attorney. I would have, had an agreement signed, everything done so that you could move forward quickly and start giving them all the things that they need to get on the market and get it sold.
Well, what if they're only a month in, and so they could be for Arizona 6 or 7 months before probate's done? Do you typically go after the agreement before? I mean, they couldn't close, right, for a few months anyway.
Right, but they could, well, every state's a little bit different. Some you could list even before probate is completed, but you then
Hmm.
just don't get the funds right away. And
Right.
then there's some states that I don't know how it is in Arizona, but maybe somebody else can speak into that. But I know that in some, you definitely have to wait until they've received the letters of testamentary. So it
Do they
depends.
have their letters or no?
No, all they have is their letter that named him a PR, that the
Great.
homeowner, the son of PR, and that's it. So
That is the letter then, I think.
Yeah,
Ron,
they should be able to still.
did the attorney tell them that they already had someone they were wanted them to work with?
yeah, that's where the referral came from. So they, not for me, for them. So they tried a couple of the cash buyer kind of things and it was way too low. Then they reached out to a agent that they were referred by somebody else that does probate. And so the agent referred them to this attorney. So
Oh,
they're kind of in bed together anyway.
okay, okay.
That's key element there.
Hmm. So they have some, and like Bruce said, they have what kind of relationship we'd like to have, right? So they're protecting each other and that relationship, and telling me to get out of the mud. So
A little bit of a different understanding of the situation
yeah.
now.
But they have a relationship, Ron, with that attorney. Is that correct?
Well, they've only had, the agent does, but the borrowers have never met him. Have only met the assistant, and like I said, it's only a month old. So I mean, they just barely have had a couple of conversations, and not yet with the attorney, only with his staff.
Okay.
So it's pretty new. Bruce, I like your thought. I'm going to provide them some numbers today that they asked for, and just kind of keep that relationship going with the probate, with the PR, and not worry about the attorney at this point, and just see what happens, I guess.
Yep.
You have something that you wanted to say, bud?
Who?
Steve.
Yes, I do. The attorneys really provide advice, and I realize he's got a relationship with a realtor that probably has worked out very well for them.
Sure.
But I think what was of concern to me was, even when, Ron, you spoke with their office, and they said, well, we prefer. Look, attorneys are all about wording. Prefer that he work with this person, and reiterate, hey, the person has full authority to decide what they want to do. And again, I'll tell you, in the Army, I always got advice from the attorneys, but as a commander, I made the decision. All right. And I think that's what the PR needs to understand. Hey, attorneys take care of things inside the courthouse. That's what they do, clearly. But I think this is for the PR to decide where they want to go. And the attorney needs to realize that. Look, how many of you have talked to people and you find out, oh, I already have a listing agent? Okay. Well, you can compete. There's nothing wrong with that, providing something for them to decide where they want to go. But that doesn't always mean you're going to win out. So I really think the attorney's overstepping his bounds here by making a decision for the PR.
Okay.
Okay,
No, I
that's what
like
it
that.
sounds
Gives
like.
me better perspective for sure.
Right. And that's not what they do. They advise. Okay. And then you have to make, now, I'm not saying that the PR shouldn't keep the attorney well informed. I always reiterate that with everybody. Look, I don't want you going behind your attorney's back. They should know what's going on. And it gets back to what Tim said earlier, whether it be with siblings or the attorney, having utmost transparency is really important. All right. So everybody realizes what you're doing. And whether a sibling agrees or doesn't agree or whatever, if you look at the will, it really comes down to the PR. And that's where the attorney needs to come in and say, hey, we're trying to move this estate forward. And if you're behind by 5 months, those are carrying costs too with the house while it's sitting there. And even if it gets listed and it gets sold right away, you're probably looking at another 2 months.
Yeah.
So that's just something to consider.
Okay.
Right. And if you're going to present them with data and all that, realize that you're potentially up against you're in a competition. Make sure that you're loading your gun well. Don't just, talk about money. Talk about all the other things that you bring to the game, all the other ammunition that you have. Make a great presentation and,
Right.
go
The other
win the
problems
business.
you're going to solve that they may be overwhelmed with, that you can help them with, and they realize you're going to listen to them and you have their best interests in mind, which essentially is what the attorney wants. He just thinks this is the fix. And I'm not saying it wouldn't be the fix, but what does a PR want to do? If he wants to work with you, he should be able to work with you.
Well, and they have their hands full. Bruce, this is one of those where you walk in the house and go, oh my gosh, we have a professional collector, right? Boxes full of everything everywhere that they're trying to, shuffle through. They're kind of down and out financially as well, so they don't have funds to do much of anything. I mean, it's just one of those, you just feel bad for them, all the help they need and don't know where to turn. And then the attorney's going, well, you can only work with me. So I have a different way to approach this. Thank you.
And well, something else too is there's a will, you got all this stuff. Perhaps a probate advance is in the best interest of them. Okay, because
this is one of the
sounds like
questions
they
we
don't have
had.
a whole lot of money. If the money is going to come from the sale of the home that goes into an estate account to cover all the rest of the bills, in the interim, you can potentially go in an advance, which that attorney probably may not even know about. And oh, by the way, he can get paid out of that advance. He's not getting paid. So that may be an additional incentive to what you bring to the equation.
Yeah, this morning, he brought it up. I wasn't going to talk about it right now, but it's a good thing to talk about. I was on the phone this morning talking with our probate cash partners a little bit, and we're going to be doing some new things with them. And, they're aggressively going after this business exactly for that. More and more, they're looking at the equity in the property and the legal standing of the person that's doing it. And if they're named on the will and there's equity in the property and they know that, it's liable to have X amount of dollars that get spun off, they'll lend
Mhm.
money, and that'll allow them to do the things that they want to do sooner rather than later, and potentially add value to the property, and make it more saleable and worth more money. So I
Yeah.
urge you to talk about that for sure.
Yeah.
And
Being
This is that
behind
what I
on
asked you guys
payments,
about last week about the probate cash advance was this transaction that we talked about last week.
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah,
being behind
because
on
I want to help
payments,
them get it current. They're worried that the servicer is going
they
to come
need
in
to
and start
sell quickly.
foreclosure. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
they need to sell quickly. They're behind. It's not going to get any better, and they have
yeah.
no other cash.
Yeah.
And be aware that if you're going to you're going to take that approach, the attorney is the one who's going to have to certify, in fact, that they're named in the will and all of that. So, you want to not tread lightly and all this, and, abandon the opportunity, but you got to make sure that in the process of doing this, you don't, make an enemy out of somebody who you're going to need. And that
Right.
attorney is going to have certified that they're named in the will to make the cash advance program work.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Two great questions to start off with. Guys, we're about a little bit more than halfway through our hour here together. Love to hear other things that are going on, other things you'd like us to chat about. We're here to do that. Bruce, what's going on with you, bud?
Oh, I had a real estate conference last week. I wasn't available for the call last week. I was in the middle of a great conference in Florida. Got some good ideas. I was down there talking about probate, and so I'm energized. And every time I go to one of those, I go to talk about probate mastery, but then I end up saying, hey, you know what? I think I'm energized to do a little bit of selling as well. So energized to go get clients. We're putting some additional things in my personal market, putting some additional warm resources into the hands of our pipeline leads, and we're just continuing to grow that pipeline to serve clients at a higher level.
Great.
Yep.
How many people were at the
It was a relatively kind of small coaching organization event, maybe 90 or 100. So it was nice to get some Florida weather before it gets too hot. Which some people I think are saying that it was already too hot, but for me it was nice to get some Florida weather a little bit.
Yeah, we're supposed to finally get some rain this week. We desperately need it. We're dry as a bone. Of course, we'll say that, and then it'll rain for 3 days, and everybody complain about the weather. But we definitely need some rain right now. Hey, Melissa, I saw that you raised your hand, and then it went back down. I'll ask you to unmute if you wanted to ask a question or have something to say. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I don't even know if I should ask this question.
Oh, you should.
Um,
For sure
I
you should.
sh okay. So it has to do with a property that I'm new to this industry, and my broker had three properties that I was helping her with, which I'm very thankful for. Um, Two were mobile homes, and one of them had land attached to it, and the other one, and two of these properties were actually because of probate. Somebody had passed, so I got to experience the whole tenant situation, trying to get somebody out for my first time, and that was interesting. But anyways, there's the third house that so it was supposed to be like a percentage, right? After the first one that we did together sold, I got like 20%. After the second one, 25, and then it's supposed to go up, by 5% for each one. So this last one that's in escrow now is supposed to be 30% that I get, but a couple months ago, right after those tenants had moved out, my broker ended up having to put some money into the house, and some other things had happened with some flyers that I was passing out, and I thought we were on the same page with that, as far as what I should do, because I also have another job that's paying the bills right now until I get some funds going with real estate. But so anyways, long story short, took me off the third house and said that I wasn't going to get paid anything for it after all because she had to put money into the house, which I understand, but like that wasn't part of our initial agreement and time that I had agreed to spend helping her. And the first two were mobile homes, like I said, but this one is an actual house. So this one's worth like 500,000 in California, 540,000, I think it's sold for. And um, I don't want to cause problems because I am grateful to her for everything that she's done, but I feel like I'm getting screwed big time with this. That's a lot of money. Um, and this is why I actually lowered my hand because like get really upset about it.
Okay,
And
take a breath.
so what should I do? Like she already said I don't want to talk about this anymore at all. Like don't bring it up. Like she started, getting kind of like bullyish with me about it. But I don't want to just like let it go either because that's my money. Um,
Hey,
I don't
Melissa,
know. Yes.
Melissa, take a breath. Take a deep breath and let's talk a second, okay?
Ooh, okay.
As
Mm,
I'm sure that was hard for you to do, and I appreciate it, and we all appreciate it. That's a tough situation to be in, especially if you're new to the industry and trying to do the right thing, for
yes.
sure. A couple of questions. First off, are all of the understandings that you have in regard to this verbal, or do you have something in writing?
Um, they started off verbal, and then as I thought about it, I texted her and started a trail of I got a text from her of the three properties that we had agreed that I was helping her and would get paid commission on. So I do have a text from her showing those three properties. So that's her acknowledgement in my way of, um yeah,
Right.
like that's what it is. Like when they sell, I get da 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 da. And it was whichever one sells first. So had the $540,000 one been sold first and I got 25% on that, I'm sure that would have been cool with her. But has it as the balls are falling, like she's seeing that, oh crap, like I'm gonna have to pay 30% of like a higher of the highest number, which was what I was actually hoping for. I was like, geez. I hope that big one gets sold last, And anyways,
Is the
it
is the
kind of
money
sucks.
that, yeah, is the money that your broker uh, put into the property, is that money that is going to come back when the house gets sold? In other words, did it add to the equity of the property?
I don't believe it did.
What did they spend money on?
I believe she put up curtains and painted the house and possibly recarpeted, but she didn't get into a list because I was trying to like talk to her, in more depth about it, but little by little because I didn't want to just be like, well, give me a list of all of your expenses. I want to see what it compares to this and that. And like, you know, like, I don't know. It's not my business to, in my opinion, it's not my business to know all of the details because it's her
Well,
listing is what
yeah.
she keeps telling me. It's my listing, it's my listing, it's my listing. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, but
Well, we can't, we're not in a position to give you legal advice, so we're not going to do that. But
oh no, I'm not looking for legal
I
advice.
understand. I understand.
I
All,
just don't know, like,
all I was going to say is, do you want to continue to work with that broker?
I do, and that's my problem. Like, I'm willing to eat it on whatever 30% of her cut of two. Oh, that's the other thing. It's her cut. So her 2%, I get 30% of her 2%.
Right.
So, I'm willing to eat however much that is on 540. That's how much I want to keep working with her because I respect her. I know her husband, like I've known him for a long time. He's been our family's like tax CPA for over 20 years. So, and she's a sweetheart. I love her. Like, I really do. I just don't understand, like, why take away the whole thing? So, my question was going to be, I guess, like, I was thinking of doing an email and saying, how about like half of 30%, like 15% at least, so that I get something? But because the whole problem stems on she had flyers that she wanted me to pass out. I had another job. She wanted me to go knock on the doors and like speak individually to each homeowner. And I'm totally willing to do that. But then she also said that it was fine to just leave them on the door. And she had a huge stack. So I was like, okay, well, I want to get all of these passed out because it was for a raffle by a certain date. So I was trying to get them all distributed by a certain date so that we would have a lot of people, calling for listing appointments or whatever, which was the goal. And so that's what she said at the end was I didn't knock, but I had checked with her um like every single time that I went out and I told her what I had done and she had said, "Oh, great job." So like I feel like that's not a valid reason to yank me off getting commission for the third house because anyways, it's just this is why I lowered my hand. It's kind of a long thing. I didn't want to eat up too much time. I'd rather learn from you guys. So, I just
Bruce,
want to be
say
quiet and
something?
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I understand what it's like to be in a position where you're starting out, where you're a part-time agent, where you haven't made money in real estate either ever or for a long time. And I bet most of the room can understand most of those things as well. So I think a bunch of us have probably experienced things that maybe aren't exactly like this, but are kind of like it. So I want to more speak to the mindset that comes when you feel like a commission rug has been pulled out from under you, whether regardless of who pulled the rug out from under you, whether it's a broker or a client or a lender or somebody, these types of things happen. Um, one day I was meeting a buyer of mine who I'd been meeting with and working with from out of town. He'd come into town and he was coming in to buy a $2.5 million property. And I was new in my market and I didn't have any money. And somebody's buying a $2.5 million property. And I'd already met the person. And the conversation the day before was, I'll be there in the morning. I'm looking at these three houses. I'm buying one of these three houses. And I showed up to the first property and he never showed up.
mm-mm.
And I called and called and called and the buyer just completely ghosted. And I went from, hey, I'm gonna sell a $2.5 million house today and get a really nice paycheck that I desperately need in a month and a half to nothing. And as I was driving home, dejected, I got a phone call from a listing of mine and they said, hey, I know you put all this money into marketing our property. We're so sorry. We decided we're not gonna sell.
Oh,
All in one day. Okay. And I'm sitting here on this call still transacting and still getting excited about the real estate business because I recognize that when things that are out of our control happen, we have to find a formula, find a way to pick ourselves up. And I'm not saying just completely ignore and let yourself get walked over. I am saying pick yourself up and know that there's a lot more out there. So it's hard to look at things from an abundance mindset when you've never seen the abundance yet. But I can promise you there is abundance in the real estate business, but you have to force yourself to look at the abundance that's available.
Right. Other thing I was going to
thank you,
recommend
Bruce.
against Melissa is trying to have the conversation that you need to have via email.
Yes.
You need to sit in front of the person that you're talking to and have a conversation that, she's got to look you in the eye, you look her in the eye, and, talk about what you're talking about. I mean, you're obviously passionate about it. You feel like you've worked hard, and I think it's important for you to do that. So I suggest that you don't try to do that via email or text, and
Well,
you take it professionally and say, hey, I'd like to meet with you tomorrow. What time are you free?
can I say, I actually started that way and we've met about 3 or 4 times in person to discuss this. And text was in between some of those meetings a few months ago. And so escrow just opened last week. So that's why I'm like, but she has already told me, don't bring it up again. Because I have sat in front of her and looked her in the eye, dead in the eye. Not because I'm upset with her, but because that's my money. But I do respect her as well. So I just take it. I guess at this point, what Bruce said, life continues. I do see the bigger picture. That's why I'm here today. I haven't just rolled over and been like, I don't want to do real estate anymore. Like I'm just gonna keep going. But like, oh, and then when she told me it was an escrow, I congratulated her. I was like, that's great. Congratulations. I'm happy it sold. Like that's just it. Like I'm done with it, but I'm not done with it. Like I kind of just wanted to like chime in and see what you guys thought, but then that's why I lowered my hand because like I was just about done with it anyways, type of thing. Like I don't know. I can't sit in front of her again though. I don't want to piss her off and have her call the cops on me because she was like, I already told you don't bring this up again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm kind of like scared to bring it up again, which is why I said maybe I can just shoot her an email and propose the 15%
Well,
idea.
whatever you do, make sure that you've got all of your rationale for why you feel that you deserve it and what you've
Because I
done to
work
deserve
my
it.
butt off.
Oh, that'd be a good reason to talk about it then. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're treated unfairly, then at least try and state your case. And, you got to make a choice. If you think that trying to engage her in conversation about it again, she's going to get mad and yell at you and all that. I mean, you're in a volatile situation to begin with. That's not
Mm-hmm.
the right spot. Bill, you were going to chime in there, bud. What's up?
Yeah, I was just gonna maybe give a different perspective, and I don't certainly integrity is important and what you agreed to is important, and I'm not here to weigh in on her particular case, but I will just to give a little color to the other side from Miranda and other new agents who might be listening. I get approached all the time from agents who want to be agents, they're part-time or they're brand new, and I just don't think they appreciate how much work it takes to build a business and the services we pay for. I've DocuSign with 3 different companies and editing software with 3 different companies, and MLS, and it's easy to say, well, I deserve to get this because the time I put in. I think on the flip side, like for example, even though my company is known for recruiting a bunch of agents, I don't bring into my team or even under me brand new agents, new licensees, or part-time at all. Because the main thing is, I just don't think they appreciate how much work it takes to be successful. And until you've achieved something and you look backwards, go, wow, that was a lot of work. I think you realize it. So again, I'm not saying Miranda's wrong. I'm not entitled to every penny of her dollars. But what I am saying is on the other flip side, it's easy to say she's taking the majority or she's taking half or whatever the commission split is. But most real estate brokers aren't making money today. Most real estate brokers are losing money today. And even with those large splits that they take off the top, most of them don't make a profit enough to stay in business. And that's one of the challenges in our industry overall. And I would just add to Miranda, one last thing I would say is, like when I went to college, I either had a scholarship or had to pay fees. Here you're learning real estate and you're learning probate, a very important niche. She's not charging you, you're only getting paid a small amount, but you might want to look at that as getting paid while you go to college. Because I know when I went to college and I got a job through work study, they paid me like less than minimum wage, but I got paid something while I was doing work in the field I wanted to do business in. So again, I would just might have you consider the possibility, yeah, for one deal or 2 deals, you're not going to get paid fairly. You're going to get paid in the education and the time from your teacher that you're not paying for. You're going to get a small commission rather than what might be a fair or larger commission. That's my 2 cents.
Great. Thanks, bud. That's good perspective. Eric, you've got your hand up there, bud. Unmute yourself.
Yes. Hi. Thank you for that. So before we wrap up today, I know that we need to have a team of service providers to help people go through probate. Can we quickly itemize or iterate or describe all the people that should be on our team?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I would put it in three categories because there could be hundreds of people on your team. So I would kind of chunk them down into categories instead. So category number one would be kind of white collar, CPAs, financial planners, attorneys, um, insurance agents. So there's plenty more. But those are the ones that you're going to refer to the most often. Next is going to be your blue collar, kind of your labor, your clean out crews, your contractors. So make sure that you have all the contractor positions filled along with a clean out crew position. And then the third category that I would say would be your specialty categories. So specialty are going to be locksmiths, estate sale companies, appraisers, antiques collectors, car buyers. Those are the ones that you're going to run into that are kind of almost estate or probate specific. All the 2/3 of your vendors are going to be vendors that you need for your general real estate business. You should have accountants and financial planners and attorneys. You should have contractors. So now you just go and you're like, okay, what happens with an empty house? Who winterizes it? Who maintains it? Who buys antiques and appraises art and different things like that. So those are the categories. And I hate to be general like that, but as you continue to go on, you're going to run into dozens of needs that you never even thought of before. I've been doing this for 10, 11 years in the probate space. And I could go on an appointment tomorrow and see a need that I've never run into before. And I'll go, well, I got to go find someone for that. And then next week, I promise you, I'll be able to use that same vendor again, because sometimes they come in waves. So don't worry if you don't have everybody, but go try to form as many relationships as you can for now and expect the unexpected. Expect to talk to a client next week or in a month and that they have a need that you don't have a vendor for, and it gives you an excuse to go get a new vendor.
Right. And the other thing to keep in mind with that, as you recruit these vendors for the things that you're doing, it's a two-way street. You're looking to arm yourself with what they can provide. You need to be very clear on what you can provide back to them, which is a business opportunity as well for them. And to Bruce's point, the granularity that's here, just think about, and if you're looking at a house that's full of contents, you may have a rare coin collection. Well, that's not necessarily something that you're going to want to take to an auction. So you need somebody who specializes in rare coins. Maybe there's a car collection. Maybe there's things that, you need specialists that deal with. And as you grow, you'll gain that granularity as you begin to work with people. And, that's experience and time. But I think to Bruce's point, every time you're looking at what's going on in your local marketplace and you see people advertising in your local marketplace, think about the fact is that something that could apply to my business. If you see somebody who's spending a lot of dough on advertising for roofing business, well, they're aggressive, they're pursuing it. So they may be a good contractor to talk to about roofing, and is that somebody you could recommend? And you just need to dig in and build and build and build that team and set yourself with an objective of always adding to your team of people as long as you can potentially give back to that same group of people and provide value to them, if that makes sense. Does to me anyway. Gang, we're kind of at the end of an hour here again. If anybody's got one last thing that they would like to ask, raise your hand. Otherwise, we're going to call it a day. Very interesting questions today. Very interesting things we're pursuing. I appreciate you being here. I'm not going to try to do the big send off that Jim usually does. Bruce, you want to take a whack at it? You're pretty good at Jim send off.
Yeah. So we really, really appreciate everybody that contributed. I didn't write a list of names down that Jim does, but everybody that asked questions, contributed, shared. Thank you to the coaches panelist. If take one thing that you learned today, one idea, put it into your business, and then next week come back and share those results with the group because we do want your successes as well. And with that said, I will kick us out of here. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate y'all being here. Bruce, I'll give you a call in a minute.
Okay.
Thank you all. Bye now.